I think we're about ready to get started with our FanCentro panel of brand influencers here. We have the lovely MelRose Michaels. We
Hello.
have very handsome Saint Devera, beautiful
Hey guys.
Tilly Toy, and Just Lucy. And I'm your moderator and hostess, Lotus Lain. I'm with FSC, the Free Speech Coalition, and this is part of our Inspire program of webinars to help educate you performers that want more in-depth info on certain platforms that we all use and love. So with that said, let's get started talking about FanCentro and Centro University, which is the first school specifically for porn stars and adult influencers like us and other sex workers. So it's FanCentro University is brought to you by FanCentro. So it's developed to help address the rapidly growing market of self-produced content. So that's everything that we're all doing on our own right now. And basically, Centro University is completely free. So that's good already. And the introductory classes are already available on demand, so you can take them at your own pace. It's not like you have to sign up for certain classes and then you miss them and it doesn't work with your schedule. You go at your own pace, which is great. We all have our own lives. So the courses of the study, they teach you how to get started kind of as an adult influencer, and it explores in depth how to build and monetize your fan base. And we all have our own unique fan base, so that's what's great. The first Centro U course actually covers topics such as health and safety, which is top priority once you're in an industry such as ours, sales and distribution. Of course, you got to have that money coming in, and privacy and censorship. You know, you have to protect yourself too, and taxes and accounting and more. All of these are like top of the list important, so you can't neglect any part. So yeah, this is what we're going to be talking about today. With a little of that in mind, does anyone want to go first, kind of to explain Centro U and what it means to you and how you apply it to your business? Oh, sure. MelRose, you're muted though.
Now I can start. Yeah, so Centro U is basically kind of like an all-inclusive, centralized university for everything that applies to business in the way it works with sex workers. So something I guess I'd like to emphasize that's been powerful is that it takes business knowledge and business advice that maybe the usual the usual sex worker influencer isn't educated on, and applies it to their business in particular, which is something that I feel like hasn't been super done before, and having it all in one place and available for free for anyone, it has been of value massively. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's a resource instead of being looked at as this thing that you have to pay for and go do. It's just there for anyone who wants to use it. I think that's been powerful.
Sweet. Does anyone else want to touch on maybe the way that FanCentro U has helped you enhance your business strategies?
Yeah, I'll go. So I just actually hopped into the industry this year, kind of at the start of the pandemic, and for me, like I kind of am that person that MelRose is talking about. Just like when you first get in, you don't really know how to navigate, and there's so much to navigate within it. So just the education part of it was just nowhere to be found. Just like typing into Google all the time, or trying to figure out how to like just small things like retention, and just there's so many things. But I was definitely with Centro U really, really grateful that it was just like there at your disposal, and there wasn't really anything like that. So it's really helped me a lot in a lot of the small things. I already had a little bit of background in like social media and marketing, but just like small things specific to the adult industry. So it's really helped me a lot in my short career.
Hey,
So
that's
far.
really good to know, though, because a lot of times people expect panelists such as yourselves to be like seasoned veterans of the industry that have been here for years, that
Yeah.
have the ropes and the ringer. And it's really empowering to see you here on this panel with, such success, and you just literally
Yeah.
started this year. So congrats. That's good to know that
Yeah,
it's
thank you.
successful for you.
It works. It works.
Right on, right on. Yeah, anybody else want to speak specifically to how Centro University may have helped you or works for you?
Yeah, I could talk about it. I absolutely loved all of the little marketing tips in there. And just for reference, I've been in the online industry for 3 years now. I've been in the sex industry for, I think, 7. But learning the online industry is so much different than the physical industry. And so for the last 3 years, I have been a student of trial and error in every way imaginable. I've had like a million different Instagrams deleted and made a lot of mistakes. And having this everything kind of laid out for me, a lot of it is stuff that I've learned throughout the last 3 years, but to see it just like clear in black and white in front of me just made it so much easier to kind of categorize each thing I should be doing, and it just organized all of my thoughts and that like collective experience of the last 3 years, and it put it into something that was even easier for me to understand. And so since then, my marketing and my posting, everything has just gotten so much better because I feel like it took this big jumble of information and experiences that I've kind of accumulated, and it put it into something I could actually like see.
That's good. That's really great to know because, a lot of people are also coming from that physical space that we used to be able to navigate a lot more freely. And now things are rendered to be a lot more online and virtual. So that's good to know about the transition. I have a question specifically about the start of your profession. Like, how did you get started in the business? Specifically, Just Lucy, how did you get started over there in Germany?
First of all, I'm really sorry. I'm not a native English speaker for everyone, so I try to explain everything.
We
how I
are
can.
blessed by your beautiful accent. No
Oh,
worries.
So I started 6 years ago, going to the adult industry, and I started with film small clips and load them to some platforms and sell them. And it runs really good. I think after 3 years, after 3 months, I was on the top list and everything was very good. So I also started doing some more stuff, also going to webcams and showing myself and introduce myself to all the people out there. And then I created my own FanCentro account. I think it was 2 weeks ago. It's really funny because I'm also a newbie, and I learned also many things from Centro U.
That's really awesome. I love the fact that you and Saint both said that you're still new to the game as far as FanCentro and learning tips and tricks, because that shows that you can start at any level. It's never too late, and you can still very much big success. So I'm loving to hear
100%.
that. And so Tilly, how did you kind of get started from your physical your transition from the physical side of the business to now the digital and online space, as you're saying?
So I was a dancer in Portland, Oregon. I also did in-person dominatrixing for a year. I started dancing when I was 18. I did the dominatrixing when I was 19. And then when I was, I think 20 or 21, it was actually a boyfriend of mine that was like, why don't you try the online thing? He's like, you could just make money from home. You don't have to drive all the way into town and stay out all night, because I never really liked the day shift, and I also didn't like staying up all night. But I loved dancing and I loved the industry, so I wanted to stay in it. I just wasn't sure if dancing was the right fit anymore. So I tried camming, and to be honest, it was not my thing. And then I found this whole, like, the feed wall where you just make posts and people subscribe to it. And I was so intrigued by that because I'm on social media all the time anyways. and it was just a perfect fit. So I never looked back.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like it kind of helps and fits with your personality if you're someone that doesn't want to spend a lot of time cultivating some big site. You can kind of do the quick clips and teasers that exist on FanCentro, which is really fun.
Yeah.
I like hearing that.
Yeah.
And MelRose, you're like one of our reigning queens of brand ambassadorship. How did you get started?
Well, my original background was actually in webcamming. Opposite of Tilly, that was totally my thing. I just felt like I was in my bedroom on my own little TV show, and like I could do whatever I wanted. But at the same time, like certain things for me, like doing like phone sex operating or doing like stripping, that for me would be too personal. So that's why my comfort level kind of went that direction. But I did about 8 years as a webcam model. I was top of my site a few times, my glory days. And then I kind of saw a huge shift in my room. I've spoke on this publicly before, but there was a period of time where like every night you log on, you have your regulars in your community that comes on to see you. And when that stopped, it started to stop happening, where they just weren't showing up. And I realized it's because it became very inconvenient for my viewers and my fans to sit down in front of a computer every night to watch me, where we had this rise in smartphones and everyone was using their phones for entertainment. So my first, thought was, how do I get what I'm doing on a cell phone? But my original start was in webcam.
Hey, sweet, sweet, sweet. And I know we did touch just a little bit on the fact that you Saint Devera, am I saying it right, hopefully?
Yeah, Devera.
Started this year, but what exactly, what were you up to before you decided to take the plunge into our world?
Yeah, it's I've done really mostly sales, like retail sales, luxury sales. I sold handbags forever. I sold body jewelry. I sold like literally anything that you could sell at the mall.
I could
I was
see
there.
that. You
I
would
was
sell
just
me water and I would be in the ocean.
yeah. So I have this really big background already in sales, and I've been on social media all my life. I'm Gen Z, I guess. I'm 22, so I'm really young. So I lived my complete life on the internet. So social media is something that's been really like kind of like second nature for me. And then when the pandemic hit, I actually met MelRose earlier this year, like before the pandemic. We have a mutual friend and we met, and she was the one that introduced me to it. And I always like been like into my sex appeal and sex life, and like I'm a very like kinky person. So it just kind of like made sense for me at the time to be like, once I got into it, I was like, seriously, why haven't I not been doing this? Like since like 18. When I first turned 18, I did camming, but it was kind of like a private thing, and I didn't really like talk about it, and I wasn't publicizing it or marketing it at all.
Like, put in my closet.
Yeah, I was like over there. So once I started on the online like fan site vibe, yeah, it just like made sense, and I just really like took it by its balls and just started marketing myself like anywhere, everywhere I could, like making friends, making connections, especially now with like the online, it's all online. So I thrive in social settings. Like I love parties and like networking events and all that. Like that's my game. So I've kind of taken that and like try to do it online, like wherever I can, meet other sex workers, other influencers in the industry, other like mentors, business associates. Like I'm just like trying to like really sink my teeth into it all.
I love all of those tips and tricks. You're literally answering my next question, which is how do you become a successful influencer? And everything you've just said, from like marketing, putting yourself out there, not being afraid, just really sinking your teeth in and going for it. Because I notice a lot of people sometimes they're like, I started and I'm not sure if I should do this, or I worry about that. And like all of that trepidation and apprehension is holding you back. It's just like, just post the video, sis, just go for it, because the fans are out there, they're waiting for it.
And I think that that's like a really big thing with the marketing, even like when you're first starting for sure. And even when you're, experienced in the industry, from what I've seen is that to market yourself is in this day and age, how easy it is to market yourself. It's literally posting a picture. It's literally reaching out to like somebody on Twitter and being like, hey, like, I really like what you do. Like, how do you do it? Or like, what works for you? And like, I think that it's really important. And even with like Centro U, using any and all resources that you have, because the internet's like at our disposal too, and all this information that we get constantly, if we really apply it, like if we really listen to it and we really like take action after learning about it, then it helps put it into perspective, and like what to do with social media, what to do with all that. So
that makes a lot of sense. Does anyone else want to speak on maybe the specific things that have made you a successful influencer beyond the beauty that we all see before us? But like there's beautiful people in the world all around us, but what is it about your strategy, how you approach your business, that you think really made you successful and get to the top?
I'll speak on this one.
Please.
Sorry. I would like to stress this just in general, because it's something I'm really passionate about, is just that all sex workers and all, sex work influencers are full-on entrepreneurs, like full-on business people, especially if you're treating it like a business and, you're incorporated and you're taking it really seriously. But I think the secret is work ethic, like hard fucking work. It's not something that, if you're building something substantial, it's not just posting a nude, although marketing, that's a huge part of marketing, but it's so much more strategy than that. It's so much more, business skill than that. But work ethic, I think bar none, is up top for me, because like I've met so many talented people, so many beautiful people, but they just don't apply themselves as much as they could, and they would be at such a different level if they were. So I think work ethic, getting up every day, shooting the content, editing the content, distributing the content, all of that. I mean, luckily for FC, it's centralized, so it's easier to do. But if you just have that work ethic to get up and do the hard part, like someone told me this saying, is eat the frog first. So do the hard part first. I don't know how it applies to anything. I just really like it. So yeah, get up and do the worst thing you got to do and get it done with and call it a day.
And then get to spending the money and having fun and being cute. Lucy, since you're in a different kind of market over there in Germany, what do you think have been some of the things that have made you very successful influencer over there?
I think what makes me really interesting for the people is that I cooperate also with big YouTubers and influencers which are not from the adult industry. So I think the other thing that make me in front of the top, or pushed me to the top, to know people, maybe connecting to people all over in all different industries, and just be yourself is also very, very important. Never change yourself, never try to be someone else, only do things you really like, and people will see when you are diligent, and they will also see when you have the passion for it. They will also see when you don't feel comfortable, and I think being comfortable in the things you do is also very, very important.
Hey, I really love those tips. I wasn't expecting the YouTube partnership with people outside of adult, but as soon as you said it, I was like, duh, that makes perfect sense. I know some friends that have done that, and it does really kind of change your fan base and boost it in different ways, because there are so many people that use media in different ways. There's people that watch YouTube all day, there's people that watch Netflix all day, and you're really capturing a large part of the world by doing those kinds of things. That's really smart. Tilly Toy, do you think that there's anything specific that you do that has made you successful for all this time?
It's definitely similar to what MelRose says, is work ethic. I was going to say consistency, but that takes some work ethic. So pretty similar. Making a schedule, sticking to it, and holding yourself accountable. Like, don't let yourself get lazy. I am very bad with my time. I always have been. I think it might come also from the dancing world, where you're up all night. I would work from about 10 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning. And then I would just sleep for as long as I needed to sleep, get ready, and go again. And so everything else in my life just kind of fit into the empty spaces between work. And so I never really learned good time management as a young adult because I was so work focused that when I went into the online industry and I'm home all the time, it was so hard for me to be like, oh, I need to do these things today because I'm so used to just like, I'm working.
Yeah.
I'll do that stuff later. So consistency and learning how to use your time productively is so important. It's really easy to sit on Instagram or Twitter and say, you know, in your head, like, I'm working, because you are doing some marketing, but you're also just looking at memes. So you need to make the difference and say, I'm working right now. And you need to know when to set that part down and go on to the next thing.
Got to be self-disciplined, especially this is a
Yeah.
self-owned business. You don't have a boss telling you you're not going to get paid if you don't do this. You're just going to look at your bank account and be like, whoa, or your sales and be like, whoa, because you're not putting that work in. Very good advice, guys. I have a question from one of the people in the audience, and it's specifically for if you don't have a large following on social media, you're not verified, or you're not over the 10K mark or something, what would be the best way of building a newcomer fan base, or do you think the S4S things that some people do are helpful? Or let's see, anybody have any thoughts on that?
So I think that that's a really good point, because I think, you know, when people are watching, like, you know, us, and we have established and grown our brands and stuff, it's can be quite intimidating to be like, well, how do I get there? I think, like, for me, when I first started, it was, I can't stress this enough, like, what I see, the biggest mistake I think people do is that when they're promoting themselves, it's too much of a sale, and it's too much of a production, I would say. I think, like, and it kind of goes back to like authenticity and stuff, and like, I think how you promote yourself. Like, when I first started, I mainly was on Twitter, obviously, because that's our safe space, and I would follow gay influencers that I found to be, you know, aspirational, or something that I looked up to, and I would just study what they do, how they post, when they post, what they post, what they say in their captions, if they put links in their captions or not, if they put it in the comments instead of the actual post. And it was kind of just a back and forth of finding really how to do that. But main thing, what I think that really grew my Twitter following, and in turn got me fans, was posting like really, really pretty content. And that sounds very vain, but like I see really overly edited pictures, or like not the best lighting, and that's, I mean, you know, it sounds vain, but it's like, you have to have really great lighting, you have to know your angles, you have to know like what is, so like, what do you love most about yourself that you can show to the world, because that's what's going to bring people in. I mean, like you said earlier, there's tons of beautiful people in the world, but what sets people that are successful in the industry, that are beautiful as well, aside from people that can't seem to find that, is really I think it's an internal thing. It's how much do you love yourself to show yourself to the world, to like bring those people in and keep them there. And so that's what I basically did all throughout the first couple months, is just really showing them that, like, I mean work, like I mean business. So it kind of draws them in, like they trust and build a rapport, I guess, is kind of like a package of it.
I see why you're popular. I feel like I'm like getting my whole life right here. I'm like closing my eyes. Yes, this is the pep talk I needed this morning, you know, like, you're really like pumping me up. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like not as soon as I'm done with this webinar, I'm gonna do some clips and stuff too, and like, you know, like, I love this. I love this. So yeah, if anyone else used these kind of like performer to performer marketing strategies, like S4S, or like shout outs and those kinds of things to help you boost your brand?
Yes. So I use Instagram probably more than I should. Twitter is our safe place, and that's where I should be. But I like Instagram, so that's where I'm at. And I have done the S4S, the share for share thing with other models. I don't I mean, maybe when you are starting out, there are some benefits. I mean, you do get followers from it, but I've never noticed it being a significant amount of followers. But what I have noticed is that the engagement in my story, because it's a story share for share, goes way down, and then it takes me a few days to build it back up. So you're kind of sacrificing your actual target market for trying to acquire new followers. So it's kind of a weird little give take. One thing that I like super highly recommend is just building online relationships with other influencers that are kind of, you feel similar to what you're doing, and like their stuff, comment on their photos, reach out to them and say, hi, I love your stuff. I'd love to work with you if you're open to working with other people, but just, compliment, say hi, reach out and be friendly. And you'll see in return that they will start liking your stuff, commenting on your stuff, and you'll build these online friendships, which it's so funny because everything's online now. But I have a ton of online friends I've never met before in the industry. And every now and then we'll post like to our close friends story, like we're all going to comment on everybody's post today. And so we all go and comment like 3 things under everybody's most recent post to help promote each other. So build relationships. Don't be alone. Just go out, reach out, say hi to people.
That's such nice advice. That kind of segues into the next audience question, which is about Instagram and posting and violating and being safe on such an unsafe platform for us. And it is about how to handle posting maybe on your feed or on your stories and getting the flags that say you're violating terms of service, even though God knows you're not posting anything revealing. How do you navigate that? Like, are you hiding explicit parts, or are you posting the web link, or like, are you using Linktree to re-navigate people, or what are your little, ways to not get banned?
So maybe I start.
Yes, please go first. Let's hear from you, girl.
My old account had 1.1 million followers. It was
wow.
And I had also a verified button. So there I was always safe. And now 2 weeks ago, I started my new account, Just Lucy, and I got blocked 2 times because I'm not verified. And it's really strange because no one knows how Instagram is working, and no one knows what are the terms of condition. We all know, but sometimes things were deleted because of no reason, and it's really, really tricky. So what I can advise you is that I never use links to adult sites on my stories. I just post it with Linktree, or make another domain or an own domain, and build an own website before it. So everything is not for adults. Okay. So everything is not nude, and you can't see anything inside, and then you're safe.
Okay, that's smart. So you do the re-navigation strategy. So they're not clicking on a specific adult site, they're going to your Linktree or your website, and then in there they can find those things.
That's true.
Smart. Yes. Okay, anybody else? You said, Tilly, that you got deleted a few times. How have you managed to now keep your very cute and sexy flirty page up that I notice is still up?
So my main thing was I was always very like aggressive marketing. And so I would use words when I very first was starting out, and I didn't really realize just how strict Instagram would be. I would use adult words in my text, which I guess they can read. So like if you say the word like sex too much, or like anal, or anything that's like very clearly adult oriented, I feel like they typically flag you. Another thing is posting like censored photos. So it's a nude photo, but you put like emojis or like just a white strip across like your nipples and censor it. I feel like those posts very frequently get taken down they're just kind of, they're risky business. And honestly, it's a nude. Keep it on your feed. That's what they pay for, is the nude. So always, I like to like allude to the fact that I have the nude version somewhere else, or the rest of the photo set is
Right.
on my
Yeah.
feed, you know, just alluding to like there's definitely more, you would want to see it, it's somewhere else. I feel like that's better marketing anyway. Teasing is everything.
Yeah.
So the more
Like-
clothes you can keep on and market is actually, I've found, more
Yeah.
productive.
There you go. Okay. Saint,
Yeah.
did you want to throw something in on that?
Yeah, like to piggyback off what Tilly said, that's kind of the model that I do, because so in my personal experience, my Instagram isn't super like I'm not super marketing what I do, like what I do. That's just like my personal preference. But it's also because my Instagram before I was doing this was just open to like all my friends, all my family, like everybody's on there. So the way I've kind of been doing it is my links are definitely on my Instagram. I'm not cool. I'm not yet at the 10K mark where I can do swipe ups, so I don't really do that, or I don't really do like, I'll do click my bio every once in a while on the story. But how my model has kind of been is like, I basically take like the most safe for work on Instagram, post that, then on Twitter do like the teaser, but it's still pretty safe for work. Like I'm not really showing too much, but I'm not showing, like I'm also showing stuff, and then like drive that to the fan site where it's like full, you know, full nude or full video or anything. So it's kind of been like a funnel for me to, because everybody on Instagram does know what I do, but I don't really say it loudly, but I kind of direct them to Twitter and then direct them to the fan site. So it's kind of like that little trickle down of content, safe for work to not safe for work for me.
Got you. And Miss Melrose, do you have any tips or tricks for how to maintain an account and not get deleted?
Yeah, as someone who just got 2 TikToks deleted.
Oh no.
No, everything that everyone else has said is totally spot on. Another thing I would add is if you're posting something that is obviously Instagram approved as safe for work, like a sexy bikini pic, for example, but maybe the angle makes it a little bit questionable or risky, or how close you are to the camera would make it risky. When you're posting to story, just shrink that picture down smaller, because the less like skin tone percentage of the story or of the feed post is going to help you get under that algorithm without getting detected as quickly. So especially if you're like, I don't know if you can tell, my whole room is beige, like everything in this room is skin tone, literally. So when I take pictures here, like I'll edit out my background to be like a bright white instead of a beige, so that the algorithm doesn't read me in my entire photo as skin tone when it's not. Because anything beige or a variation of beige can be assumed as skin tone. So I would be careful with things like that as well.
Hey, that's pretty smart, because I have noticed that your background is remarkably white, and I'm just like, ah, her house looks so cute. It's like
I wish.
so white. Well, that's very good editing on your part. But yeah, no, you're right about shrinking the picture down. Like pretend this is like the full story screen, and like shrink it down to like this and put the words around it. I've actually done that before myself to try and get away with it, because obviously on a story you can't like zoom it, but they see that there's body being shown. So haha, very clever to have that. I do also use myself. Okay. So another question that we have, I would say is more specific to FanCentro. How exactly do people make money on FanCentro? We hear from Melrose on that. I know you're our resident expert.
Okay. So as far as FanCentro goes, I kind of look at it as like a home base for everything, to centralize all of your content. So you don't have to do all the things. You can choose what thing you want to focus on. I like to just do every feature that I can, because if my fan base is centralized to one place, then it's very easy for them to kind of explore, okay, let me check out her fan site, let me check out her clips, because it's all right there for them in one platform. When I first started on FanCentro, I got started with the premium social media. So I was selling access to premium Snapchat. I know girls that'll sell access to premium Instagram as well. But then I've kind of expanded into the fan site because fan sites got really popularized during COVID. So I would suggest starting with the fan site and the clip site and premium social. If you're up for premium social is a little bit more time intensive because you have to add users every day, remove users every day, stuff like that. Whereas a fan site, you're producing content and you're distributing it. Same with clips. You're producing the clip and then you're putting on the clip site. So I would suggest focusing on fan site and clips if I had to pick some things, just because premium social can be a little bit more time intensive and probably has a little bit more of a learning curve, but Central U will solve that for you.
Mhm.
Right on. Very, very cool. Saint, did you have anything to add about that? Like, what are some of the best ways to make money on FanCentro for you?
Yeah, to piggyback off of Mel, like something that's really worked a lot for me is DMs. Um, I have my whole feed and I have tons of posts on my feed. And now that I've accumulated a ton of content on my feed, I'm a little more, I'm able to not worry so much about constantly getting content on the feed. So I focus on the DMs. And what my personal like advice for the DMs is, really it's all about that message, like what you're saying to them. Words are power, and like when you're writing something out and trying to get somebody to unlock something, you want to make it so they have to, like they need to see that content, or they're gonna be upset that they didn't purchase the GM. So I really try to use language to really entice them as much as possible, and really I also about my brand, I'm a little like, I try to keep things a mystery and like not try to make it too like in your face. So when I do write my DMs, there's like a drafting system that I go through. Like I don't just type it out and send it. Like I'll kind of like look at it, see what it says, I look at it from the perspective, because I'm a buyer too. Like I subscribe to people. I think that that's another tip for anybody. Like I support my sex workers because it's like, not only do you get information from them by seeing their content, but also like everybody got to eat, you know, like we're all in this together. So I love doing that. But I look at it from the point of the view of a fan, because I am a fan. And so I look and see what I hope, like would I unlock this message. And once I get it to that point, that's when I send out that DM. So that's been my biggest moneymaker. Also too, like make sure you price your DMs at a like based on the content that it is, like price it accordingly. Like that's another thing with like rapport and trust. Like you don't want to be selling like a basic message for like $200.
Thorn.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
The whole bait and switch.
You know what I mean?
You don't want to do
Yes.
that.
Yes. So like building up that trust and rapport with your fans is gonna, make them buy more clips. So not clips, DMs. Clips is great too, but DMs for me have been like top tier moneymaker for me.
If I could elaborate on something
Sure.
Saint said too, sometimes like I love about all the language. I'm really big on that. It's like my own little erotic novel in there. But I'll also like record voice memos, because you can record voice memos in DMs on FanCentro too, and you can send a voice memo to do the talking for you, because that voice kind of connection can be super intimate. So sometimes like I'll edit my video where I'll edit the voice or the audio separate, and I'll send them the audio. I'm like, you want to see what's going on, unlock this clip, and then I'll send them the clip and things like that too.
Okay, so you're teasing them not with a visual, like a still photo from the video, but you're actually teasing them with the audio, which I think is really clever, because a lot of times, that was some of my best times listening to stuff and getting fantasies based on what you're hearing on TV or something. So yeah, that's really, really cool. Audio, I don't think as many people use that as much as they should. Just Lucy, did you have any tips on this topic?
Yes, I'm also a newbie, so I can't say so many things. But what I think is the most important to be to do it every day. It's very important to be there every day to answer the questions the users have, or if they recommend you something, if they want to see something special, you have to be very fast. And otherwise they will go to someone else maybe. And that's not what you want.
That's true. That is actually someone else's question was, do you guys post every day? Or if you do post daily, how often? And if you do post daily, how often? Do you literally perform every day, or do you kind of like set up a cachet of things to like release at a later date to kind of like save your sanity or whatnot? Tilly, do you want to speak to that?
So I post to my Snapchat every day, and I just actually this month, kind of like halfway through last month, committed to posting to my feed every single day. And I love it. It made me a little more busy, but now every Thursday I go to my feed and I schedule all the posts until the next Thursday. And I know that every morning between like 7 and 9 a.m., my post is going to go out. I usually like to go check on it, answer any comments that are on there. And it's kind of, I don't know why, having it post itself, like I always want to check on it. I'm like, how's it doing? But it's kind of fun. But I do all that. That's kind of like my collected content throughout the week. And I just sit down one day and post it all. And then my Snapchat, I do a lot of those shows live, just because I feel like creative and fun and I enjoy doing that. But if I have a very busy week scheduled, or I'm going on vacation, or for some reason I know, this next week I'm not going to be really available to just film, then I'll film my shows and I'll post them throughout the week.
Very smart. Not to cut anyone off, but we are getting almost close to the end, and there was another question that got brought up, specifically about how you make yourself as an individual, as a brand, stand out. When you got into this industry, what in your mind did you know and think was going to make you stand apart? Or what is it that is your brand? We're all pretty, but my brand is a different type of pretty than yours and yours and yours. So what was it that you were bringing to the table, and how did you, I guess, deal with maybe trolls or criticism and just hold on to your bearing, so to speak?
Okay. For me personally, it was knowing your niche and knowing your audience was a big one. So like, I know my content is pretty vanilla, so to speak, but I also know I'm a redhead, so that's going to set me apart from the average creator because I'm in such a small niche that people like to search. So like, I'll gear all my content towards those things. When I'm distributing content, I'll use those tags so I'm more easily discoverable. And then in terms of like trolls and that whole situation, I just think that if you're going to be in this industry, you've got to do it in a way that you can't half be in porn, the way you can't half be pregnant. So if you're in it, you got to be in it and own it so that it's not haunting you. That's been a big revelation for me. That's helped me spiral other things. You get to launch other things like YouTubes and podcasts and all these things, as long as you're open to saying you are what you are and this is what I do. So taking pride in your career because it's something you should be proud of, that'll take you places. And I think that's important.
I totally agree. What about you, Just Lucy? How do you think you've set yourself apart? Because there are so many beautiful blondes, but you do have a unique look about yourself. But, what is it that helps you stay focused on your brand?
I think it's because of I'm also in a niche. I like to switch. I'm a dominatrix, and also I like to be the submissive part, and I think that's not so common. So many girls are only submissive or only only dominant. So I think that was something that was unusual, maybe. And that it helps me a lot. So I have a huge fan base. Some only like the dominant things, some only like the submissive things, and so I created a huge fan base. Maybe that's my key.
I like that, being able to switch it up. And then for you, Tilly, what do you think sets you apart, and how do you stay focused on knowing that's you and your brand?
So this is something I actually kind of overcame actually in the strip club. Is I danced in an 18 and up strip club. So when I was 18, everyone else there was a petite 18-year-old girl, and for the most part. And it was intimidating to go into a space where I can visually see what I never consider them competition, but you know, my coworkers, the other options that they had, and know that like I really blend in. Like I was not much different from anybody else that I was working with. So I kind of did some self-reflecting and thought of all of the things that my boyfriends and friends had ever told me they liked about me. So my sense of humor, or if a guy was like, I love your smile, or I love this about your butt, and like all these different things. And I kind of took them, thought about them, and said, how can I accentuate this? And how can I use my sense of humor or my sarcasm in a way that's going to make me more money or make me more attractive? And so I started to change the way that I viewed work as more of like, I'm presenting the very best parts of myself. I'm not just like showing like, you know, tits and ass, because everybody here has that. So like, what's so special about mine? And then bringing that into the online world is, I feel like you can show so much more of your personality online than I ever could from a stage. Like, hey, everyone. So being able to post about, you know, your likes, your dislikes, more about your likes typically, and, you know, tagging every single detail about yourself, even ones that you don't like. Like, I've always been very petite and I always wanted to be bigger, but I still tag everything petite because I am petite and guys love that about me. So I would always tag petite. So learn yourself, know yourself, and promote every little positive aspect about yourself. And I always recommend sharing what you're comfortable with sharing with your fans. So like, I have my dogs that I'll post on my story, and in moderation, just kind of show them like what kind of person you are and what you might like doing in your spare time, because those are the things that make us attracted to other people.
Yeah,
I mean, you see somebody and they're attractive, but then you get to know like you have the same favorite TV show.
Yeah, or they listen to the same kind of music, or they like cooking like you do. Yeah,
Yep.
I totally know what you're saying. Picking and chooses a certain aspects of your personality and enhancing them. And for you, Saint, anything specifically about your brand that you maybe like elevated about yourself to make it specific, like this is who you are, established?
Yeah, for me, I've really tapped into, you know, I'm a little like, I consider myself a minority. I mean, I'm half Hispanic, half Asian, so there's that. I have tattoos all over my body, so there's that. I'm like a twink, so I'm like small and like, you know, you could put me in your pocket. So I just like really, like Tilly was saying, I honed in really early on. I think this is important for everybody, not just new models, but also people that have been in the industry for a while, is to sometimes sit down with yourself and self-reflect on like what makes you you, and like all those things are me on the outside, and then also think about what makes you on the inside. And for me, like my brand, I guess, is I balance between masculine and feminine a lot. So like Lucy too, I'm a bit of a switch, so I can like be super dominant, I can be super submissive. I really hone in on that, and I let people know that. And I basically I try to spotlight and showcase everything that makes me me, whether it's, you know, I'm wearing a triangle cut off like weird shirt and like I look like Jimmy Neutron. Like I just like everything about me that makes me me, and like just showing that. And again, personality. It's like, what's the saying? Like the looks is what gets them there, but the looks is what attracts, but the personality is what makes people stay.
It's so true.
100%.
True.
100%.
Because everything you guys have said, I think basically sometimes people, when they're new, they take a lot of their insecurities or the bad things that people have said to them, and they have that in the back of their head. And a lot of times you can actually take those things, like your big eyes, which I was made fun of, and your big lips, and those are your best features. Or, you know, even as you grow and change, because I'm transitioning into an older, more established performer, and I, have more of a belly that's soft, and I was a little insecure about that, but my fans actually like that. So there's fans of belly buttons. And you'll come to find out that some of the things that you have like a little apprehension on, when you just let go and show your confidence in who you are, the fans will come out and be like, oh, I love that kind of belly button. I'm all about that. So I love that you
Embrace who
guys
you
have
are.
said that you enhance your, uniqueness, as opposed to trying to hide it away, or make it into something that's more mainstream or basic. Basically, you've got to use those unique things about you and make them stand out. So we are about almost done, and one of the last questions is kind of a tricky one, but what advice would you guys give to traditional adult porn performer stars coming from that industry of shooting professionally into this online space where we're kind of selling clips and little videos? How would you, what advice would you give to someone coming from that world into this world of selling your own and marketing your own clips, as opposed to waiting for a booking? Whatever that advice may be, because it can come from a number of different ways, but there are a lot of people right now that are kind of dealing with that transition. And just from your point of view, what would you say is just the difference, or something to focus on, or something to not get hung up on, or whatever it may be? How about Saint? You go first.
So I don't have any experience in that world, but I think that with anything, when you're transitioning into anything, I think that what is important is like having an open heart and an open mind. And like when you're, especially in the porn world, if you're going into the online industry and you don't really know anything, be open, like open your mind up to all the information you have, like the Centro you, and like research marketing strategies, talk to your fellow peers about what's made them successful, and then open heart too, because when you're kind of like you've been doing something for a while and you're transitioning into something else, it may be a little bit hard to open yourself up to maybe you don't know it all, like maybe you need to like take in more than you've been giving out. And I think like just knowledge is power, so roll with that.
Love that. I'm learning something new every time we do these webinars, so you're so right. How about Just Lucy? Is there any tip or trick you would give to someone that's veteran in the other side of the industry and just coming over here?
I think the most important things is having a schedule. I think it's so important to write down everything you have to do on the week or for a month maybe, and just try to figure out what the community wants, because I think if you are a performer for professional stuff, you also know what people like about you, and just post things they may be attract of, and schedule everything so you can't miss something.
I love that. You have to be a business person, right?
Yeah, 100%.
How about Tilly? Did you have any last bit of advice for those people coming from that professional studio shooting environment to doing it all on your own?
That's a unique transition. Definitely, like they said, scheduling is incredibly important. Being your own boss rather than somebody who's hired is kind of a weird shift, I'm sure. And then one thing that I did when I first started that I think would be easy to fall into if you're used to having a director would be making basically the same video over and over again. Like you have one thing that you're very comfortable doing, you like doing, and so you do it, all over your house. But when you look at all your videos, it's pretty much the same. I like to make sure that all of my videos look different, which is a little bit challenging for me because I typically use like one room in my house for almost all of my shooting, unless I'm like at a location. Right. So I actually have an acronym because we're learning today. So I do these 5 things and I change 1 or 2 of them between all of my films. So the acronym is TOTAL. There's the theme or type, the outfit, the toy, the angle, and the location. So if you're doing like a role play on your couch with a pink toy and a blue romper from a dead-on angle like this, that's 1 show. Then you can just move your camera up and to the right 3 feet, same couch, change your romper. You can even use the same toy and just do a JY show. You didn't even move. You moved your camera and you changed outfits, and it's a completely different show. It looks different. They don't even realize it's on the same couch. Like, throw the pillow on the floor, get rid of it. And it's different. So just make sure that you're making your content, even if it is essentially the same show, put it somewhere different, wear something different, use something different, change something in the background, close the curtains, open the curtains, just make it look different, put your hair in a ponytail, anything, and it looks like a whole new day.
I love that visual, that advice. This is like information gold, you guys. And then, of course, we have Miss MelRose Michaels. Close us on out and let us know, any last bits of advice you have for people coming from another industry right into this. Just
okay, so
your knowledge.
I'm not from that background. I haven't had to make that transition. I've always started as my own content creator. But something I would say, and I think you have an upper hand, to be honest, coming from mainstream, is that you already know your audience. You know what they like about you, so you already have that reflection kind of awareness taken out of the equation. So definitely when you're filming content, cater it to those things that people are consuming about you. So whether you're in a specific niche or you do a specific thing in your films that they like, definitely stay in that lane, or at least start in that lane before expanding, so that your fan base will find you and resonate with you, etc. But in terms of not being in mainstream anymore and doing it for your own, it's definitely going to come down to kind of what everyone said: a little bit of work ethic, a little bit of scheduling, a little bit of exploring and getting to know what other content people might like to see you in. But something I want to add on top of that is that when I was first getting started in the industry, I felt like I had a lot of success because I did have a certain webcam. So like, people were finding me traffic wise in a live setting where they could interact and get to know me very quickly because I'm there, instantly giving them feedback. And the traffic was coming from the website, so that I didn't have to rely on a big social media, or I didn't have to rely on, performers tagging me and things to get me seen. I didn't have to work so hard for those eyes initially in a webcam setting. So if you're not really sure where to start, that's always a good place to build a fan base, because the traffic is being supplied to you and you don't have to work so hard to manage it or to create it yourself.
Completely agree. And that is the end of our webinar. Thank you, panelists, so much for your knowledge and your advice and your beauty and all of the things that you've shared with us today. Of course, all the things that you were talking about that people want to learn more about are available in learning modules on Centro U. So if you want to continue building your brand, getting smarter, making more money, go to Centro U, which is CENTROU.com. And, we are here to help. So thank you for coming.
Yes.
We love you all. Make that money, smile, interact, network, be great.
Superstar.
Feel free to connect any of us on social, you guys. We always want to help the community, so feel free to reach out.
Yes.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.